Hello students, we will start with the fourth module, which is user defined functions and recursion. So the first thing here which we should understand is function. Now function is not a very new term to you all. You all have already used functions in your programs. To be more specific, you have used library functions or built-in functions already in your program, such as printf and scanf. So whenever we were saying I want to print something on the screen, I said we make use of printf function. And one function which you have written in all the programs is main function. Okay, so you all have already written some functions. Now let us look in more detail about the topic, which is functions. So what is function? Function is a subprogram, you can say, or function is a block of code that performs a specific task. There are different definitions of functions. Function I can also say as a set of statements that make that may take some input. It can perform some computation and produce some output. The main advantage of using function is reusability. You can define it once and I can use it again and again and again. You might have come across some repeated lines of code while studying the program which was multiplication of matrices. So there you saw, after reading two matrices, we printed both the matrices. So while printing each matrices, we have while printing each matrix we have two loops, and then we have a printf statement, and before that we have that /n, so that every row is printed on the new line. So these four lines of code, I can say, is repeated how many times? 3 times there. So once for printing matrix A, once for printing matrix B, and once for printing matrix C after multiplication. So this 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12 lines of code you have written. So if you want to just reuse the code which you have written, you can just write 4 lines of code and just call them. How exactly you will come to know. So functions in C I can classify into two categories. The first category is user defined function, which the user means the programmer is going to write. The other category is library functions. Library function meaning the functions which are already available. Okay, we just make use of a library, meaning the header file, and then we start using those functions. Now you have come across stdio.h, so that is the header file. Under that we have printf, scanf, and some more functions. You all have also seen math.h header file. Under that we have sine, cos, or power function, sqrt function, and all those. So functions which are already existing are called as library functions or built-in functions, which is shown here on the right side. Left side is the topic for discussion today, or your fourth module, which is user defined functions. So let us look in detail. So before starting with function, I want you all to understand what or how the flow is, or how the function looks like. What we are going to discuss, that I will just show. So the execution, you know that the execution starts from main. So here the execution starts, and then we have the body, whatever statements are there, those will be executed. Then the moment there is a function call, what happens is the control is transferred to that place where that function is defined, and then the function executes. After the function executes, the control comes back to the same line from where the call was made. Okay, it is something like this. So functions are written to carry out some specific task. Okay, so it is going to take some inputs. It may or may not take inputs. It may or may not give output, but there will be some processing in the function. Okay, slowly you all will understand this. So before looking the functions, or to understand functions, there are 3 elements which we need to understand. So 3 elements of function, or 3 elements of user defined function we need to understand. The first thing here is function prototype, or it is also called as function declaration. Then we will look at the function call, and the last thing which we look here is function definition. So these are the three important elements with respect to functions. Okay, you will get this question in the exam saying that explain three elements of user defined function. So there you need to speak about function prototype or function declaration, function call, and function definition. So we'll look at all these three in detail very slowly. So first is function prototype or function declaration. So as you all know that if I want to use a variable, I declare that variable, right? After declaring only I can use that particular variable. Similarly, you will have to declare a function which you want to use. So what comes here, or what is the syntax of function declaration? Let us see. So first we write the return type. So what this function is going to return, that will be the return type. Now return type is nothing but it is your built-in data types. You can say that my function is going to return integer, or my function is going to return a floating point number, or my function is going to return a character, or there was one last data type which was there, which we said we are going to use it once we study function. What was that? Right, void. So void can be another data type or return type which indicates this function is not going to return anything. Okay, if I give the return type as void, that means the function is not going to return anything. So for function declaration, the first thing which we give is function return type. Then we give the name of the function. Now this name of the function is some user defined function. You have to choose this name. So it can be some name which is a valid identifier, meaning it should not have space, it cannot start with digit, it cannot have special characters. So all that rules of identifier you should follow, and you should pick some name for your function. Then we have this important part which is going to tell what input the function is going to take. So it is called as list of arguments here. So here also we give what is the data type, what is the name of the argument meaning some variable, another data type, another variable, and so on. So these are going to act as some inputs for this particular function. Okay, here you can omit the arguments, but data type you have to specify. Say for example you want to pass two integers to the this function, you can say int comma int. Okay, now at the end semicolon is very important over here. This is function declaration, the first element of functions. Next let us look at calling of a function. So you have declared a function, then you have to somewhere call the function. Only if you call, then the function is usable. Okay, so for calling what we do is we give the name of the function followed by arguments. Okay, these arguments are usually variables. It need not be only variables, it can be some constants also. I can say name of the function as add, and into this round brackets I can say a comma b. Okay, so calling is what I calling takes this particular syntax, which is writing the name of the function and then giving the arguments, whatever the function is expecting, that you should come over here. This was the second element. Third element is function definition. So here what we do is we have the function declaration, whatever we did, that as the first line without semicolon, and we have body over here. Okay, so this is function definition, or this is how I define the function. First I give the return type, then I give the name of the function, then I give the arguments which the function is going to take. Again, as I said, it should have data type, and here I need to have the arguments compulsorily. In case of declaration I would have skipped this, but here I cannot skip. Okay, so the type 1 argument 1, type 2 argument 2, and so on. You can take any number of arguments, but remember, in case of function definition there should not be a semicolon over here. And then we give the body. Now this body is set of instructions. You can write any instructions which you want. So you want to print the matrices, so those two for loops will come here. There will be a printf which is printing /n. There will be another printf which is printing that matrix of a of matrix, whatever is the variable a, and rows and columns, that is I and j I write there. So this is function definition. So thus we have studied three elements of the function. We'll try to put all of them here and try to understand our first program using function, which is addition of two numbers. Okay, so here we see all three elements of the function. We have the function prototype or declaration over here, we have function call over here, and we have function definition over here. Okay, now let us look at this program in detail. So first I say hash include stdio.h, and then I declare a function. I tell the compiler that I will have a function whose name is add, and it is going to return a integer, and it is going to take two arguments which are a and b, both are of type integer. Okay, so this is what I tell the compiler with function declaration. I tell the compiler that I will have a function whose name is add, which is going to take two arguments, both of type integer, and it is going to return a integer value. So I have told this to the compiler. Now whenever in my program if I use add, compiler comes to know that it is a function. Okay, if you say by chance if you forget to write this first line, if you don't write this, what happens is this line is going to generate an error saying that here at this point your compiler will say I don't know what is add. Okay, that's the reason you have to declare it. It's similar to your declaration of variables. We declare first and then use, similar in the case of function. Okay, so I have declared two variables here, n1 and n2, and meaning three variables, n1 n2 for reading numbers, and sum is another variable which is used to save the result. Now I give printf statement. I ask the user to enter this you can ignore. So enter two numbers I say, then I use %d twice. That means I am reading two integers, or I am expecting two integers. So whatever user enters will be saved at address of n1 and address of n2. Okay, now I want to perform addition of these two numbers with the help of function. I'm not going to do addition here inside this main program, but I want a function to do this. Okay, so for that I give a function call. So I say add n1 comma n2. So these are the arguments which I am passing. So whenever the function call takes place, I have told you the control transfers to that place where the function is defined. So the control is going to come over here, and this is your function definition. What I do here, I'm following all the syntax meaning rule. I'm following all the rules to write function declaration, call, and definition. So the rule for definition was I should write the return type first. So I have written the integer as return type. I have given the name of the function as add. I take two parameters or two arguments here, which is of type int. So here what happens is n1 is copied to a and n2 is copied to b, and then some local memory for a and b is created, and then whatever are the values which user has entered, those values come here. Assume that I had entered 1 and maybe 3. So these are the new values, or these are the values of a and b also. I declare another local variable here whose name is result. Now I add a and b to get the result, whatever is the addition that I get, and then I put that into this local variable which is result. At the end I am returning an integer, or I am returning the result. So I had told that I will be returning an integer, thus this return statement is returning the result. So function has executed now, all these lines are executed. What should happen now? The control should return back. There is a closing bracket here, I think you are not able to see. So once this is completed, this return statement is going to take back the control to that place from where the call was made. So this function call is executed now. Now what it has brought back? It has brought back the result. Okay, so whatever is the result, I assume that numbers were 1 and 3. So this has brought back result which is 4, which is saved in this variable sum. At the end I say printf, I print sum, and this percentage d is a placeholder for integer which is nothing but this variable sum. So I get the output as sum is equal to 4, and finally I have written 0, which uh, terminates the program. Okay, so in this video we have seen why or what is function, then three important elements of a function, and we have seen a simple program to add two numbers. So hope you'll have understood